looking back to those who lived in fear. There was nothing I could do. There was nothing you said that could make me realize how much lucky I was. Just out of reach of the fire, was not aware of the nightmare. But when I stopped to see through sight, begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among others. I've got to try. If I bleed tonight, if I exist tonight, I don't have the time to fight. If I wait tonight, I'm so tired tonight. I'm falling asleep when I'm home, when I'm alone. When you go, no one can see through that side of your eyes. I can see my life is crap. I have to see them too. I just live into my world, far from the pain, the feel. Was out of reach of the fire, was not aware from the start of hell. But when I start to see through sight, begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now to try to change them somehow, to be someone among us.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is Monday, it is 7 p.m., and it is the Locker Room Breakdown. This is our Raw perspective. I am OMD. Bubba Duke is on assignment tonight. No special guests, and we have a lot to cover. Normally we talk about a hot weekend in pro wrestling. We had one hot Saturday with Worlds Collide and then Money in the Bank. But that all really kicked off last week with the go-home edition of Raw leading into the PLE. And what a show it was. And what does that mean for tonight? We have, well, 3 more major events that we are building towards now, with Night of Champions coming up in just a couple of weeks on June 28th, followed up by the weekend in Atlanta with Saturday night's main event, Evolution, and then, of course, building to SummerSlam. So we are really in a time of chaos, and we are all here for it. You will find out more as we watch the Raw Patrol at 8 o'clock Eastern, with the Raw Patrol 8 p.m. Eastern, with myself, with Chris Best, and potentially Chris Parrish. But ladies and gentlemen, let's go right back to last week, where we got the final qualifiers for Money in the Bank and helping build and set up a lot of what went down this past weekend. And we're going to start it off. We had El Grande Americano, the Walking Starbucks order, defeating CM Punk and AJ Styles in a triple threat qualifier. Now, which one of those does not belong in that match? And that is El Grande Americano. You think of the history and the legacy that AJ Styles and CM Punk have left, and El Grande Americano is building his own in that character, so to speak. Now, yes, he did use his loaded mask, and I cannot remember who he pinned. I believe it was AJ Styles. But yes, CM Punk did come close. CM Punk hit a GTS, but it was due to Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, and Bronson Reed. They are who cost him his spot. And I can understand that. And I would not be surprised to see now AJ Styles get involved, because we did see last week that there was a segment earlier on in the show where Paul Heyman advised AJ Styles not to go through with the qualifier because everything would go through Seth Rollins. AJ turned around and said, "No, Paul, I'm going to do this." But yes, ladies and gentlemen, it was Bronson Reed and CM Punk, or sorry, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins, of course, costing CM Punk. Is there anything more on that? Yes, even well before that match, because I do believe that match was the main event last week. And we will find out sooner than later, but CM Punk delivered a heartfelt promo to Jey Uso, to John Cena, saying that he would cash in on them. He told Jey Uso, it's just business, we're still friends. John Cena, of course, we all know the history there. But again, Seth Rollins taking him out, what does this mean for that rivalry? And it's going to mean a whole hell of a lot. Where this goes, do we get the culmination in Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions? Do we get the culmination July 12th at Saturday night's main event, or do we wait all the way until SummerSlam for that? Personally, I think that is something that needs to be settled at SummerSlam, and I do believe Hell in the Cell. As well, before I forget too, we did have Michael Cole honoring a bet that he and Pat McAfee made. Good evening to Good Catfish. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you joining. We appreciate you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. But Michael Cole honored a bet that if his Knicks lost in the NBA playoffs, he would do the entire episode of Raw in a tank top, and he wore an Indiana Pacers jersey. On the other side of that, had the Knicks come back and defeated the Pacers, Pat McAfee would have done an episode of Raw in a full-on three-piece suit. So, up next, we also had a women's triple threat qualifier with the newest addition to the Raw women's locker room, Stephanie Vaquer. Catfish, that is a great question. I wish I knew the answer. Unfortunately, I'm not into physics and science. We are here discussing pro wrestling and the goings-on of last week on Monday Night Raw and what's going to happen tonight. But we had Stephanie Vaquer defeating Liv Morgan and Ivy Nile in a triple threat match. And again, which one of these doesn't belong? And they all did, really. I mean, we know that Liv Morgan and Ivy Nile have been Raw superstars, and of course, Liv being the women's tag team champion can go to any brand. Crate Man, thank you for coming in. Good to see you. This is what we call the Locker Room Breakdown. We are discussing what happened last week on Monday Night Raw. Leading into tonight, we will get to what happened on Saturday between Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank as well. So to say that Stephanie Vaquer didn't belong would really not apply in this situation just because she is the newcomer. She has really cut her teeth all over the world in the wrestling industry. And she is fantastic. I know there wasn't even a lot of backlash from the internet whining community. Let's call it what it is. I would have been happy with any of these three getting the qualifier. So what did that mean? It meant Stephanie Vaquer had to then go and pull double duty on Saturday and work both Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. But this was a fantastic match, and once again showcasing the depth and quality of the WWE Women's Division. And things are only going to get built up more because on July 13th from Atlanta, we have Evolution, which, for those who don't know, Evolution is a showcase for the WWE Women's Division. It is an all-women's pay-per-view, or PLE, and that is fantastic. Bulkster, so good to see you. Thank you for coming in. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you. It is the Bulkster that gets the reviews, the previews, and the most notable segments for us here at the Locker Room Breakdown. This show would not be what it is without him. He truly is the right hand of this program. And Roxy, I apologize for missing you. Hello again. Thank you for joining me here. Greatly appreciated. This is fantastic. Interesting tag match. We had the Judgment Day, JD McDonough and Finn Balor defeating the War Raiders clean. No outside interference. But again, a phenomenal tag team match. And I mean, you really can't say anything more. Like, these four brought it. This was, I don't know, there have been so many good tag team matches of late, and we know that the Raw tag team division needs that boost. So with these four and this tag team match doing what it did, you are solidifying and creating a new set of viable contenders. And I absolutely love it. I am here for it. Another match that ended in disqualification. Oh, sorry. Let's go into Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. As they were getting ready, this was their final chance to say their piece to each other going into Saturday's Women's Intercontinental Championship Money in the Bank. And I'm loving this new, more aggressive, passionate side of Lyra Valkyria. It is about time that somebody brought this out from her, and it has been sorely needed. The fact that the Women's Intercontinental Championship has been getting such a shine of late. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I am here for it. And Becky, you can't say much more about Becky. In 5 to 10 years' time, we will be looking at Becky Lynch as the GOAT of women's wrestling. And I'm not just talking about WWE. I am talking everywhere. Becky Lynch will be the GOAT. Oh, yes, there was a little bit of a distraction. I apologize, in the Judgment Day versus War Raiders match, as the New Day, the World Tag Team Champions, were sitting ringside. But they got thrown out. Mr. Best, thank you for coming in and saying Becky's new nickname should be the Star Maker. Yes, absolutely. Lyra was already a star on the rise, and Becky just elevated her to know, and she now has unlimited potential to go anywhere and do anything. And we will get to that a little bit later on when we cover the preview. But we also had Jey Uso and Sami Zayn teaming up for the first time in a long time to take on the team of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. And this match ended in a disqualification. Seth Rollins, of course, interfering, delivering the stomp to Jey Uso. And then Breaker and Bronson Reed continued the post-match beatdown on both of them, but CM Punk, of course, came out to make the save on them and even the odds. And we know that, I won't say tense is the right word, but there's been a little bit of awkwardness between CM Punk, Sami, and Jey Uso since War Games, just because, Sami didn't want Punk on the team. Jay's been okay with it, but of course now we're leading into Money in the Bank this past Saturday. And ladies and gentlemen, I love it. I am, again, here for it. We are going to get to the Raw preview in just a moment. I don't have a lot of results on Worlds Collide. But now I've got to find... There we go. We are going to go to the Money in the Bank results and then into the Raw preview. Oh, that's the Raw review. Uh-oh. Did I lose my Money in the Bank results? I may well have. Nope, there they are. I found them, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to start just as they did on Saturday, and we're going to work the card from the opener to the main event. And ladies and gentlemen, Money in the Bank. The women's Money in the Bank. Won by somebody none of us here at the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program had picked to win. As Naomi won the match, and good for her. This is a victory that she has needed. This is a victory that is absolutely huge. This truly can solidify her as that bona fide heel that she needs to be. Now, in this match, she defeated Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Julia, Stephanie Vicaire, and Rhea Ripley. And again, this was a match. The only one I said really didn't need the match and it wasn't going to hurt her to win was Rhea Ripley. I was torn on this match personally between Alexa Bliss and Roxanne Perez. And I would have loved to see Roxanne get it, carry that briefcase for a year, and maybe have her massive WrestleMania moment. She has had so much going for her this year, ever since the Royal Rumble. And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait to see what the future has in store for the Prodigy. But as for Naomi, we know that she is on SmackDown, but now with that Money in the Bank briefcase, she can go anywhere, do anything. This is huge, ladies and gentlemen, and I would not be surprised to see her cost somebody, not necessarily in the near future. I would wait. If I'm her, I'd bide my time. I pick the right target, and I get it done when it is least expected. Up next, we wound up with a surprise match that was booked earlier in the day at the Worlds Collide event on YouTube. as we had Dominic Mysterio defend the Intercontinental Champion against Triple A's Octagon Jr. And for being a last-minute booking match, this gave exactly what it needed to. It was phenomenal between both men. And I'm a huge fan. I'm not a Lucha Libre fan. I'm not huge on it, but I respect it. And Octagon is one of those guys that can deliver. And then, of course, you've got Dirty Dom. And Dom won in clean fashion again to retain the Intercontinental Championship. Not a long match, but a great match. Then to the match that truly, for me, really jump-started the Money in the Bank PLE. Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria. If Lyra won, Becky was never able to challenge for the Intercontinental Championship as long as Lyra held it. If Becky wins, Lyra has to raise Becky's hand. And ladies and gentlemen, this match delivered. As Mr. Best stated earlier, Becky's new nickname should be the Star Maker. This, as I said, elevated Lyra, gave her that new push. We've already seen the new intensity coming out of her, this new level of aggression. This has just upped Lyra's value big time. Pardon the pun. Big Time Bex did walk out as the new Women's Intercontinental Champion. Do I think she needed it? No. Am I happy with it? Yes. I do believe that now you're going to see the value of that Intercontinental title increased because you're going to see Becky doing what a heel does, defending it on her time, on her schedule, and when she wants to. So it's going to create a whole list of viable contenders, starting with Lyra Valkyria. And again, we have to ask, when do we get that rematch? Because I do not believe it will be tonight. Do we get it at Night of Champions? Do we get it at Evolution? Or again, do we wait until SummerSlam? And again, I think that this one is Evolution. I think this has to be a showcase match at Evolution, at the Evolution PLE. This match will absolutely bring the city of Atlanta to its knees. Now, Becky did win by holding the tights on a roll-up. So it was not, it wasn't, again, a manhandle slam. It wasn't, the disarm her. Both came close to having countouts. I almost thought we were going to get a last woman standing because there was a point in this match where they were both outside at the count of 9 and both made it back in. I think we should get a last woman standing to settle this. The men's Money in the Bank. Seth Rollins, Andrade, Penta, LA Knight, El Grande Americano, and Solo Sikoa. And oh boy, do we have a lot to unpack here. This match was huge. They had the opportunity to really overbook this match with it all meaning something. And I loved the simplicity of it, ladies and gentlemen. One story got to be the main focus mid-match. The primary story coming out of it, Seth Rollins is Mr. Money in the Bank. And that means with where he is going, he has absolute control. He can challenge whoever, whenever, wherever. And now he holds the balance of power. He can shift the power anytime he wants. Again, did he really need it? No. Am I good with it? Absolutely. Really, for me, in this match, this boiled down to the two people that I didn't think needed it, or that really didn't need it, were Andrade and Penta, although Andrade was my pick to win, and he had a fantastic showing earlier on. And I mean, this was all around a fantastic match. It started off with everybody ganging up on Seth and Solo tossing him over the top rope, only to then turn around and get absolutely laid out by LA Knight, Andrade, and Penta. This match, again, ladies and gentlemen, everybody is going to have differing opinions, and that is okay. I've seen a lot of, LA Knight should have won it, and I agree. But really, there was not a bad choice to have win this match. So, ladies and gentlemen, where do we go from here? Because we did see Seth Rollins get some help from Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in this match, of course. But this is where it got compelling, because as soon as those two came out, we got a visit from the Bloodline, from Jacob Fatu and JC. And those two continued to absolutely wreck shop. It came down to it. They even cleared it all up. Jacob Fatu set the ladder up for Solo to climb, and then he grabbed Solo's ankle to prevent him from going anywhere and laid out Solo Sikoa after uttering the words, "I hate you, Solo." This perhaps is the most compelling story, because the OG Bloodline is, of course, disbanded, so to speak. This new Bloodline is, because we don't know where Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa stand. Jacob Fatu is obviously the clear babyface. And you do have Solo and JC standing together. So which one do we see first out of that? Do we get that JC versus Jacob match, not necessarily a U.S. title match, to build to Solo and Jacob? Or do we just go to Solo and Jacob? And ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for the SmackDown security detail on Friday to find out the answer to that question. And now on to the main event, the surprise of the evening, and something that everybody has been clamoring for a week. There were certain hints that should have been picked up on that we didn't catch on Friday. But John Cena and Logan Paul versus Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes in what was a fantastic match that delivered probably more than it should have. Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso did secure the win. But again, a lot of great spots. John Cena used the belt, had Cody laid out. When he got attacked by a man wearing a hoodie and a mask, who came through the crowd, laid him out, and then laid him out with the title belt to reveal himself to be Ron Killings. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know who that is, R-Truth. The uproar that was caused upon the non-renewal of his contract was huge. And this is what really, really did it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. You guys saved an international treasure. And this guy is fantastic. And we haven't heard from Truth yet. We will hear from him. I don't know when. Are we going to hear from him tonight? Are we going to hear from him on Friday? But ladies and gentlemen, it is time, of course, for tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, this is huge. There is a lot going on. So, tonight we are going to hear from Seth Rollins, fresh off of winning Money in the Bank. Of course, he is going to dissect, having that power, having that control, because now he and his boys can go to either brand and take out anybody and everybody. And I think we are going to be in for, maybe we see Solo and JC get into a heated confrontation. Maybe we see a little bit of an alliance. I don't know. Again, stay tuned for the SmackDown security detail on Fridays to find out that information. But tonight, we already know that this is going to be the main event and this is going to be a blockbuster. And ladies and gentlemen, where does Mr. Rollins stand in this? A WrestleMania rematch. Gunther and Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. Perhaps Jey Uso's toughest test to date as the champion. We know that he has been distracted, and Gunther has pointed this out because Jey Uso is trying to be everywhere and help everybody all at once. And as Gunther's pointed out, does Jey have his focus? Is Jey ready for this match? Is Jey ready for what Gunther is going to bring? This match, even though it's the main event, absolute barn burner. This is going to steal the show. This is going to leave the fans going home in awe, regardless of whether it's Gunther or Jey Uso winning. And I am here for it. Of course, there could be some absolute chaos involved because of Seth Rollins holding Money in the Bank. Do we maybe get a disqualification and this has to get settled further down the road, say Night of Champions or Saturday night's main event? Again, ladies and gentlemen, anything can and probably will happen on Raw tonight. Another interesting bit of information that we received, believe it or not, on Friday Night SmackDown. And I was not expecting this, but coming up at Night of Champions, we are going to have the finals for the King and Queen of the Ring. And those start tonight. We do have the first qualifying match announced on the women's side. And we get Liv Morgan versus Kairi Sane, who have been going back and forth over the last couple of weeks, versus Roxanne Perez versus Rhea Ripley. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I think in this one, it is going to be Rhea. You know that Liv and Kairi have their history and their issues. Rhea and Liv have their issues. Of course, Rhea and Io have had their disagreements, so that plays a factor. But all four of these women, including the prodigy Roxanne Perez, have all had issues with each other. And let's not forget the ongoing Judgment Day story with Roxanne and Liv. So this is going to be a very, very intriguing qualifying four-way match. Tonight, We will also hear from John Cena, who has 20 dates left, I believe, on his calendar before he hangs it up for good. Is he coming out to confront Logan Paul? Is he coming out to attack Jey Uso? We don't know what's going to happen, what he is going to do. Again, with John Cena on the show, anything is possible. A Seth Rollins cash-in is potential. Anything can happen. And I think if you get that Seth Rollins cash-in on Cena, you start to build back towards Cena being that baby face towards the latter half of this farewell tour. The part of the show now, we don't know what the men's Money in the Bank, the men's King of the Ring qualifier will be, but I do understand that there are going to be the 2 4-ways tonight. The part of the show that was teased that I'm not overly anxious for, though I realize it is in her hometown of Phoenix, Arizona, although they are billed as from Scottsdale. Hall of Famer Nikki Bella will return to action. Well, not necessarily action, but what does she have to say? Where does she stand? Is she trying to make a comeback? I guess we just have to wait and see. Personally, I think with them having retired when they did, I think that honestly, they have built such an empire for themselves that I don't think they need this. I'm okay for the nostalgia spot. Oh, okay. Mr. Best is coming in saying that the men's Money in the Bank qualifier is Dominic versus Sammy versus Braun Breaker versus Penta. And again, ladies and gentlemen, 3 of these men were involved in the Intercontinental title match at WrestleMania. Dominic, Braun Breaker, and Penta. And I do truly believe that this is probably Braun Breaker's tournament to lose. I think this is going to be his time and get him that push to that next level, even though he has been there and has been there for a while. I think this creates that new true power trip with Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker in the WWE. What else do we have? Okay, perfect. So that's what we have for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And I would like for you, if I can find it here, to check out everything we have going on with Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m., followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursday we got total non-stop action with Brace for Impact at 8 p.m. Friday we game again with Unleashed, the Jessica Wilde story at 7 p.m. Following the game, join us for the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. followed by the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day.
And ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, now that you know where to find us, come and check us out online at turnbucklestudios.org. If you want to get involved in content creation, your introduction to podcasting, help us out, whether it's behind the scenes or a potential collab, get a hold of us. There is a Meet the Team section where you can meet Chris Best, Chris Parrish, Carl Carafel, Bubba Duke, or myself. You can check out our latest episodes, anything you may want to see. Turnbucklestudios.org. Ladies and gentlemen, I know he's not here tonight. He's on assignment with the shoot job. But a shout out to my buddy, my partner in crime, Bubba Duke. Find him on YouTube at Bubba Duke Show and on Twitch at Boar's Nest with Bubba Duke. I got to shout out this guy. I did it earlier in the show. Bulkster, again, thank you for all you do for not only myself, but for this show. Find him, ladies and gentlemen, on YouTube and on TikTok, both of them at Bulkster Show. If you are looking for me, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on my link tree to get a hold of me socially. linktr.ee/OMD show. And ladies and gentlemen, most of us here at the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program all have a link tree, but I just can't give them all out. So ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, it is time for me to get on out of here, get ready to go and do the Raw Patrol with Chris Best, Chris Parrish, and I'm not sure what other crazy characters are going to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. This has been the Locker Room Breakdown, and remember, the world is better with you in it.